welcome to the ohmTown Daily News Show. I'm Mayor Watt. I'm kind of casual today. Um, that's my site. Oh man, I messed it up. That's my site, ohmTown.com. It's a news aggregation site. It's what powers this show. I go through it periodically throughout the day and check out some news, trying to keep myself current in all things having to do with business, technology, and society. That's the three main areas that I focus on, but I break out all the news into 6 main categories and then 50 channels that I actually want to bring to Twitch. I introduce you all to this pretty much every episode. And I mess around with the words periodically, and I hope that it's not driving y'all nuts. At any rate, yesterday I stayed for about an hour or so longer past the show and was chatting. If you enjoy that kind of thing, then swing by twitch.tv/ohmTown, where we can sit here and talk about whatever you are interested in talking about. That said, let's get into the news. I almost stopped today's stream because of the news that I was going through, and let me tell you, it doesn't get anyway, let me just move on. The very first news article is in the Word and Tech channel, and it's the GoPro Volta, which apparently is a handle, a remote, a tripod, and an external battery all in one. GoPro is announcing a new accessory for its action cameras that's a jack of all trades. The Volta acts as a grippable handle, tripod, a wired or wireless remote, and has a 4900 milliamp hour battery that the company says can triple your battery or your camera's battery life, providing 4 hours of record time when paired with a completely charged internal battery. If you're shooting 5.3K footage, wow, okay, that's impressive. The Volta uses an integrated USB-C cable, thankfully, to plug into and charge your GoPro. So let's go check it out. You like that? Let's go check it out. Anyway, it's a Verge.com article. It's written by Mitchell Clark. And, if you really, an old adage that I heard a long time ago was it doesn't matter the quality of your camera if you don't have one. The best camera is the one you've got. But I really dig these GoPros. They're not like my phone, right? I can't just stick it in my pocket and be done with it. But they're ruggedized. All kinds of accessories for them where you can stick them wherever you want. I have a GoPro, but it's an old school GoPro, not like this. And definitely not USB-C. So if you're a product designer out there, if you're involved in technology, please, whatever you do, switch everything to USB-C. Once we're on USB-C, I can't imagine us changing to something else other than completely wireless charging. And even then, it's going to take a change in physics to make it more efficient and faster. Well, this little gadget here allows you to carry your GoPro around, and it acts like a remote and a tripod and a battery. Not bad. It's $130 though. So, for everything that it does, it's a nice piece of kit. So let's scroll down. They've got some pictures, but I'm not going to go through the whole article. But I did want to introduce you to this GoPro Volta. Pretty neat little gadget. GoPro says it should work from around 30 meters away, but also has the range may be affected when recording with higher resolution and frame rates. So that's let's see here. Yeah, the remote might, obviously distance and obstructions cause problems, but Volta's manual calls it weather resistant when it's plugged into the camera. Basically, safe for splashes, not swimming. Yep. It's always that connector. That connector has little gaps unless it's sealed with rubber gaskets. Water will get into it eventually, and pressure. Hmm. Okay. That's interesting. So let me check something real quick. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Um, at any rate, it says the Volta costs $130. The GoPro subscribers get a discount that brings the cost down to around $90, but the subscription itself is $50 a year and includes cloud storage, a $100 discount on a new GoPro, and a few other features. Pretty cool. So you get cloud storage if you pay for a subscription with GoPro. Let's continue on to the next article. High inflation rears its ugly head yet again. High inflation could persist as wages continue to rise. I don't see wages rising all over the place. Certain sectors, yeah, sure. Economists hoped that households shifted spending back to services, price gains would cool. No, that effect might be less pronounced now. So I'm going to click this link. It'll take us over to New York Times. And the article is written by, I might be Jana Smielek and Ben Castleman. It might be Jenna, but at any rate, it says economists hope that as households shifted spending back to services, price gains would cool. That effect might be less pronounced now. I never thought for a moment that this would change as we open up more. A lot of people have been saying that, oh, well, inflation will decline because now everything is opening up. And now, obviously, I'm talking about America. But how does that explain other countries and the same suppressed wages not rising at the same SEO rates, prices increasing, food increasing, services increasing because all of the other stuff is increasing? Services don't get more expensive. They get more expensive because everything associated with living goes up. Well, here it says rapid wage growth could make that story more complicated. Demand for services is rising just as many employers are struggling to find workers, which could force them to continue raising wages. Except that you can't hire as many people if you have higher wages. That's the argument that anybody running a business will say. Well, we've got, I might have it in here, a CEO that made $300 million last year. There was a previous one where I think it was 400 million. And there are total compensation packages that go beyond that. Wildly high, yet our products are wildly high in price. And people go, oh, well, it's reasonable. $1,000, $1,200 phone is a reasonable price for a flagship device. Except if everybody making hundreds of millions of dollars or even tens of millions of dollars were to not, then the demand for higher and higher performance and increases and whatnot would never happen. It wouldn't happen as fast. You would never have to increase so dramatically because you're literally raising the costs for everybody to compensate a portion of people. And then everybody has to raise the rates because everything is increasing. And so you have inflation. It's a natural order of things currently with the mindset that society has. Oh, I'm making more money. Well, not really. We're all feeding into a system that's causing things to increase. And so to keep things lower, there's monetary system manipulations that take place. More money infused into the system. And then there's policy and procedures that influence what and where and when money is released into the system and who gets it and whatnot. where it's spent, but it's still going, the bulk of the income is going to the people that need it the least. And I understand it's not about need, but when something that used to cost $100 is now $300, it makes you wonder. And to just say, it doesn't matter, I got mine, it's just kind of sociopathic. Let's see, inflation is running at the fastest pace since 1982, data released Thursday confirmed. Prices climbed 6.4% in the year through February, more than 3 times the Federal Reserve's goal of 2%. Yeah. So this is the United States, but it's happening in other countries. Now, let me continue on with the news. Don't want to get too bogged down in one article. Dell's new dock wirelessly charges your phone while supporting 2 4K monitors. If you have a laptop, you can get a dock. Plug your laptop in, and suddenly you get access to a whole bunch of things. When it comes to the ultimate computer setup, we often want more features but less clutter. This is an article over on the Wanted channel at ohmTown.com. And it says here, we need more pixels, more screens, more peripherals, looking at you, USB webcam, that suddenly became imperative. Yeah, let's hope that it stays imperative and we don't have to go into brick and mortar except for meetings. And then there's plenty of room for meetings because nobody else needs to go in. And more ways to power all that tech. At the same time, we seek cleaner setups and fewer cables, as many laptops cut ports in favor of slimmer designs. This just screams cyberpunk to me. At some point, we're going to be able to wear gloves or have a rig that can see how we are typing, like on any surface, right? We have laser ones right now, but they're kind of hit or miss. I want to be able to put on my glasses, just to have a keyboard, which back in my day, there's a game called Cyberpunk. It still exists now, but I would love to be able to slip into the net and use a cyber deck and be able to surf the web like that instead of web pages flat on a screen. Eventually we'll get to that point, but kind of like Ready Player One, but not just a game. Because I don't want to walk around to get to something virtually. I want to be able to just get there in an instant. Anyway, Qi charging occurs through a slightly angled fabric stand, according to Dell's press materials. Let's take a look at it. This article's over at Ars Technica. Sharon Harding is the author of the article, and it's a 12-watt USB-C laptop dock with a twist. That's interesting. So it kind of has a phone charger tacked onto the end of it. But it's in standard Dell gray kind of color. I'll keep on scrolling down. Interesting. Is that's the charging coils? That's interesting. It has 3 of them. Like 2 that are parallel, but one is stacked off angle from that. Huh, interesting. I didn't think that would work. I mean, I use something similar to that for, I use that for a couple of products that I've created, but not offset like that. That's interesting. Yeah, it's neat technology. Arguably, it's susceptible to inefficiencies. So it's not as fast as charging via a wire, of course, but there's some loss in the transmission of power. Eventually, we'll get rid of cables as things become more efficient, and you can just run a room-based Qi charger that just sends the power out across the room, and anything with a receiver will be able to be powered. As long as right now it's somewhere around, I'm not even sure what it is right now, something less than 5 watts of transmission power in a room. Disney did some fundamental research on this, and it's pretty neat. Pardon me. So this is the doc, but let's continue on to the next article. Sorry for the fast scroll if you are in my chat and watching this, as well as if you're watching the video over on YouTube later. The next article is over in the Daily News Show, and a key inflation gauge sets 40-year high as gas and food soar. An inflation gauge closely monitored by the Federal Reserve jumped 6.4% in February compared with a year ago. Pardon me. With sharply higher food prices for, sharply higher prices for food, gasoline, and other necessities squeezing Americans' finances. I'm going to go over to this article, and it's an ABC News article. Christopher Rugaber, AP economics writer. And let me pause this and scroll down a little bit. And it says that the Federal Reserve inflation gauge jumped 6.4%. I think that we're probably going to see somewhere in the 8, 9, or 10% range by the time this starts to retract. It's going to be, I think closer to 10, but we'll see. I try not to be overly public about this particular opinion. I have limited information at my disposal, but that's what I see when I look at things. And let me scroll down here. Robust consumer demand has combined with shortages of many goods to fuel the sharpest price jumps in 4 decades. I just don't see that. I see artificially constrained production and delivery, designed to exploit this constraint and raise prices in the guise of the impact of COVID, because none of this happened for 2 years. And now suddenly, it's not like there was a reserve in everything around the world for 2 years. So it says squeezed by inflation, consumers increased their spending by just 0.2% in February, down from a much larger 2.7% gain in January. So adjusted for inflation, spending actually fell 0.4% last month. Yeah, everything got more expensive, so people aren't spending as much. They're spending more, but they're getting less. That's what inflation essentially is. A lot of money chasing too few goods. And there's a ton of it ever since 2008. In the United States. In other countries, I don't know. It's one of the reasons why I would love to have a host up there that has experience with the EU, and can talk more about the countries in that region. I'm a generalist, so I don't have deep knowledge of European machinations. Gas prices have soared in the past month in the aftermath of Russia's invasion, which led the UK and Biden administration to ban Russian oil exports, which were nothing. You can get it from other places. Unfortunately, Europe is kind of beholden to a lot of Russian natural gas, but that's just going to drive everybody to go to green energy, and good for them. I hope everybody does. Let's see, that's up 63 cents from a month ago when it was $3.61. Here it's in gallons, so you'd have to convert. It's much more expensive in Europe. Gasoline is. So all of you who might be bent out of shape that gas is expensive in the States, yeah, we're paying a lot less than what other people are paying. but we're going to get there. Hey, yay. Anyway, the next article. And this is kind of what I was talking about when I said that the news is, oh boy, this at the beginning of this episode. Just not feeling a lot of, positive vibes. I would like to. I would love this stream to be nothing but positive vibes, but it's about the news, and the predominant amount of news was kind of cagey like this. They're somewhat worried, but I do have 20 articles that are a broad array of articles, not all about this. So this here says there's a major food crisis looming in the Middle East. This is all because of the bread basket for the region being hit by Russia. Interrupted wheat supplies from the world's quote unquote bread basket will profoundly affect a region already in economic turmoil. We'll click this link and it'll take us over to commondreams.org. And the article is written by Joe Stork. And again, it's talking about Russia and the invasion of Ukraine. And they combined, there is quite a bit of, like the article says, fertilizers, hydrocarbons, oil, gas, and wheat. A lot of wheat comes out of Ukraine. And right now is the growing season. So if they don't start tilling the soil and planting the seeds, it's going to be a very bumpy season. So let's hope that they get out there and Russia backs off. Okay, but I encourage you to go over to this article and read it over there at commondreams.org. Again, it'll be in the show notes. The next article is over in the Daily News Show. Renewables for peace. Don't replace Russian gas with someone else's. I agree. The West's rejection of Russian fossil fuels following the Kremlin-ordered invasion of Ukraine has a clear rationale. Let's click this link, take us over to commondreams.org. I agree with the premise of this. I think that everybody, this article, by the way, is written by Helen Clark, Dan Smith, and Margot Wallstrom. And it says, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has shaken many long-held Western assumptions at the foundations of peace in Europe. Among other things, it has renewed policymakers' focus on energy dependence as a key strategic issue. Yes, I agree. The United States recently announced an immediate ban on Russian imports of oil and gas. Other countries have changed what they purchase so that they can essentially protest Russia by removing Russian-born products from their shelves. And this goes on and on. Seemingly, it is the entire world is against Russia's decision to invade Ukraine. So, in the world of, human beings, you got to read the room. And the room says, go home. But let's continue on. I'll let you go over and read about these renewables for peace over at Common Dreams. The next article is in Stock Marketeers. The Wall Street Journal has a section, and the topic is titled Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel leads Hollywood with whopping payday of more than $300 million. The highest paid executive in Hollywood last year isn't a studio chief or a venture capitalist. It's Ari Emanuel, the chief executive of Endeavor Group Holdings Incorporated, the agency which he co-founded nearly 3 decades ago. So let's go over to this MarketWatch article. It's written by Robbie Whelan, Theo Francis Ansis. This has to be a typo. Maybe it's 2 different people, Robbie Whelan and Theo Francis. I'll leave it there. So it's basically a talent agency that now owns UFC, received pay valued at $308 million. That's Ari Emanuel. Yeah. A lot of people go, they always reply to me with, well, that money is not just sitting around. No, it's not. It's demanding interest somewhere. It's not just being loaned out for free. Like everybody is just, here's a hug here and $10 million. No, it's invested in a bank somewhere and it's being loaned out with interest expected, or invested somewhere with interest expected. So why do you think things increase in value, increase in cost? It's because there has to be a return on just cash sitting there that does produce something, yes, but all it is cash. It's not paying for something. It's not buying a good or a service. That money, $100 million at 8%, $100 million at 4%, doesn't matter what the percentage is. The expectation is a return on the investment. And if every strata that utilizes that money demands more money by the time it gets to a human being where it matters, the human being, it's more than just 8%. That's how much the investment costs are. They expect return on just the consumption, the use of the money, not paying somebody for a good or service. So essentially, this money is just sitting there because a person can withdraw that money at any given time and invest it somewhere else as they see fit. Is that good or bad? Once you understand the system, it really depends on your ethics. It really depends on your worldview, your perspective. But that money literally is just sitting there because that money is owned by somebody. So let's continue on. Again, end up down the rabbit hole. The next article is over in the Stock Marketeers channel. Economic report, U.S. inflation jumps again and hits 6.4%. The Fed's favorite price gauge shows. So just so you know, it's not just one place saying one thing about it. This is a MarketWatch article reiterating that inflation is jumping yet again. And this is over at MarketWatch, and Jeffrey Bartash is the author of this article. So I'll scroll down, and so the so-called personal consumption price index climbed to 6.4%. And it has like they have a little inflation pressure gauge, 12-month rate of inflation. And the risk for the 10-year average is at 7. That's the CPI. And the core CPI, the consumer price index minus food and energy, is at 6. So what is it that's causing these prices to increase? Because if everybody is producing, the only rationale for demanding higher prices, because everybody was fed during the pandemic, largely, right? We didn't hear anything in the States or in Europe about massive food shortages for the last 2.5 years. Now everybody is getting better, and systems are still in place, and even more robust systems are in place because we've now leaned into the tech to allow us to be more efficient and effective. So we're still producing. We were still producing all the while. There might have been loss because people couldn't get the crop out, but now it's not, okay, I can keep on selling. Now it's, I got to get 2.5 years of my income back. Really? Is that how it is? So should I be able to do that? Should everybody be able to do that? Well, I wasn't working as much during the last 2.5 years, so my salary should have increased by 25% because now I can work a whole lot more in the office instead of at home. That's not really how it works. We all weather these storms together, and in this, it's a global pandemic. But the producers are charging more. not not retail. The producers are charging more, and the retail has to follow suit. Otherwise, their margins are too small. Back to what I was saying about if a person invests $100 million, they demand 8% return on their investment or more, depending on if they're a VC or something. And that return has to come back. Is there risk? Yeah, but you're talking about $100 million. If you don't want to lose some money, don't invest as much and be more particular. But that's how all of this is. We're riding a wave of everybody increasing their demand because they're trying to get more while they can. Let's continue on to the next article. COVID-19 no longer controls our lives, Biden says, while rolling out a website for living with the virus, which is kind of ironic. President Joe Biden on Wednesday emphasizes that the country is turning the page on the COVID-19 pandemic as his administration takes the wraps off a website that aims to help Americans deal with the pandemic. Yeah, it's called Getting the Vaccine and Wearing a Mask. This is an article over at MarketWatch. Victor Rekladis is the author. And it says, President receives second booster shot of the Pfizer vaccine. Yeah, there's no date for it, but I don't recall. If it was today or yesterday, I mean. Anyway, it says cases are ticking up as we thought they might, but now, thanks to the foundation we've laid, America has the tools to protect people. Yeah, well, you have to be able to deploy those tools, and a lot of ignorance just isn't going to look at those tools and use them. But yes, we are better situated than we were 2 years ago or 6 months ago. So more information. Now you just have to make the horses drink from the pond. Anyway, let me know in chat. Are you still being impacted by COVID? I know a lot of people that are. But let's continue on. Got a whole bunch of articles. I might change tack, in the next 90 days, where I have lesser articles and there's more discussion about it. That might happen. That might not. It really depends. I'm reading the room and trying to see if people are interested in more news articles, and then they can click the links and go and check it out themselves, or if they want more discussion. But a podcast and a YouTube stream and a Twitch stream, there's a lot of people that like to lurk, which is awesome. It's fine with me. But I hope people feel compelled to have a chat with me about stuff. So at any rate, this is a channel called Code Foundation, which is about software development, engineering. And it says, in the fall of 2018, this is an author saying this, not me. In the fall of 2018, I decided to replace an application my mother-in-law was using for her real estate business. I decided to replace the application with an Angular client in Spring Boot service running inside of AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. Basically, a server virtualization service. If you've never heard of AWS, I'm sure most people have, but just in case. The biggest lesson I learned was that I felt like I spent more time trying to understand AWS and less time making enhancements to her application. So we're going to click this link. There's more to this article. This is over in D-Zone. It's written by John Vester. And the title is How I Built a Basic Salesforce Mobile App with Lightning App Builder. And the reason why I clicked this is both because Code Foundation is a channel that I intend to bring to Twitch that talks about software engineering, but I'm not a software engineer. I just want to introduce the tools and talk to people about that industry from a layman's perspective, and hope that there are people out there that are interested in this maybe stimulates you into going into the industry, because we need more software engineers, but also ones that are more bleeding edge, more cutting edge. We have a large cohort that focus on standard programming languages like Java and Python, both extremely popular, extremely powerful. But there are many, many other programming languages out there. And so I encourage people to go into that industry. That way, you know, businesses can hire somebody that are skilled, reasonably priced, but aware of the latest trends. Because sometimes you can get kind of pigeonholed into a particular skill set when you're doing the same thing for a considerable amount of time and you're not challenged and you're making good enough money. You may not want to go and seek something new. But this person changed it all up and created a new app using a Salesforce Lightning App Builder, which is a point and click tool to create single page applications that can be used on mobile devices. Like what Heroku offers from an application hosting perspective, the Lightning App Builder product handles a majority of the application foundation, and it allows the developers to focus their time on meeting business needs and objectives. And that's what I'm talking about. Instead of building stuff in a notepad and then compiling it, this gives you more flexibility, more capability, because its core objectives are integrated into the builder itself. So you don't have to hunt and peck trying to find a solution, because it's built in to the solution. Yet it can be run on multiple devices instead of, penning it into just Android or just iOS or just the desktop. So let me continue on with the next article. This next article is over in the Hedge Ideas channel. Google's self-driving startup Waymo is introducing fully driverless rides to San Francisco. The company is initially limiting the rides to its employees before opening up to the public. Waymo's autonomous vehicles have been operating in San Francisco, but with safety specialists in the driver's seat. The company first began offering autonomous rides in Arizona in 2017. It's only been, I guess 5 years is actually a lot longer when you think about it, but time flies. Google self-driving startup Waymo has begun operating fully driverless rides in San Francisco, announced Wednesday. And let's click this link. Takes us over to businessinsider.com. Aruba Jamal is the author. I think these little Waymo cars are kind of goofy looking, but because it looks like I don't know, like a hat on top of the car. But that's part of the solution. Not all of it, but part of it. And if that's what it takes to give me driverless driverless cars, then so be it. Let me scroll down here, see if there's anything interesting. This morning in San Francisco, a fully autonomous, all-electric Jaguar I-Pace with no human driver behind the wheel picked up a Waymo engineer to get their morning coffee and go to work, said the company on their website. And somehow there's an ad for Chuck E. Cheese on this Business Insider page, which is kind of creepy because I was talking with somebody about Chuck E. Cheese's. Yeah, that's really weird. Really weird. Anyway, I'll have to continue on. Otherwise, I'm going to worry about surveillance. In addition to San Francisco, the company will now expand its fully automated. The company will now expand its fully automated services to downtown Phoenix, the company said, again, initially with company employees before opening up to the general public. Yay. Now what I want to be able to own automated vehicles and then rent them out like taxis um, essentially making money so that I can enjoy a work-life balance. Similar to how I want robots to be able to do automated things, but they're owned kind of like timeshares. You own a slice of a whole bunch of robots, and the products or the cost for them, just like an employee, you would be paid to have your robot doing work. But that's not how it's going to end up. It's more sci-fi than anything. The next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel as sign up for the Chart of the Day newsletter. Now, I love data. I love charts. This says each day, Insider Intelligence team puts together a chart packed with data and key statistics on the biggest trends in today's most disruptive industries. It's a subscription. The subscription also includes eMarketer for your information, partner webinar announcements, white paper offers, best practice guides, and research briefs. So I'm going to click this link and it'll take you over to Business Insider. But this is a thing called Chart of the Day newsletter. And you can sign up for it. Ta-da! So go and check it out. And if you are oh so interested, then you can sign up for it. But a picture says 1,000 words. And if you can get a cool graph on interesting topics, then there you go. Solution provided. The next article is in the Order of the Bean. GoFundBean is providing free meals to Boston coffee professionals during Expo. Feeding Boston is providing 3 free meals to Boston area coffee professionals. So I have not read this article. I've only seen the headline and the little snippet. This is over at sprudge.com. And it says, announcing Feeding Boston, April 6th, George Howell. To thank Boston baristas, GoFundBean has teamed up with Oatly and Glittercat to provide free meals to Boston-based baristas during the expo. Order by April 3rd. So this is something that I've been talking about as we approach it, which is next week, the eyes of the American specialty coffee scene take focus on Boston for the 2022 U.S. Coffee Championships, which take place April 8th through the 10th as part of the expo. And as the world looks on at 6 competitions and countless new product rollouts at the SCA's largest stateside event, GoFundBean is looking after the Boston coffee professionals during what will be a very busy few days with their newest initiative, Feeding Boston, where they will be providing free meals to local coffee professionals. Yeah, I hope that they would also offer up additional social benefits, but it's a start, right? So this is an article over at sprudge.com, and it's written by Zach Cadwallader. And I got a few more articles that we're going to go through real quick. Pardon me. Wow, that snuck up on me. Sorry about the cough. So this next article is the best joysticks in 2022. The best PC joystick is one that will go the distance, whether that'll be through endless void of space in Star Wars Squadrons or over your house in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Let's see. Even if you decide to set up an entire hands-on throttle and stick, or HOTAS, with foot pedals and a special captain's chair in your study, we'll still recommend getting a good wireless gaming keyboard and gaming mouse for navigating menus and such. So let's click this link. It takes us over to PC Gamer. It's written by Dave James and Katie Wickens. And like right out of the gate, you can tell that this is some pricey stuff. This is a Thrustmaster and a Logitech set right here. These two that you see on the screen. If you're watching or if you're listening to this via the podcast, I can't really help you there in terms of pictures, but you'll have to look up Thrustmaster and Logitech, HOTAS, or joystick um, and throttle. So um, let's see. I think they say the best PC joysticks, and they have a list. But Thrustmaster Warthog has been the one that keeps popping up on my radar when I go looking for this. Um, I won't talk about prices because I don't know when you're going to go and look at this, but you can buy them all over the place, particularly Amazon. But if you go over to PCGamer.com and click on the links there, it'll help out PCGamer.com. So be sure to go and check it out. You can follow the link from the chat or from the show notes. The next article is over in the Smack Talk channel. Apple TV Plus paying $100 million for Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson's Project Artemis. Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans will star in the movie Project Artemis from director Jason Bateman and writer Rose Gilroy for Apple TV Plus. Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson being filmed for Variety's Actors on Actors series is also over there, so go and check it out. This is an AppleInsider.com article written by William Gallagher. So Apple TV is continuing to add high-profile star name movies to its slate with a new deal to fund production of what's described as a space race. All right, let me scroll down a little bit more. Notably, the film will see Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans reuniting after their previous Marvel work together. The two had been set to co-star in another Apple TV production, Ghosted, until scheduling changes meant Johansson was contracted to another show. Interesting. So if this is a space movie, this is going to be interesting. They're kind of leaning into that tech side of things, the more fantastic. So can't wait to see it. And let's go on to the next article, which is also in the Smack Talk channel. Apple Business Essentials now available to all users in the United States. Apple has officially debuted its Apple Business Essentials service to small business customers in the U.S., bringing device management, support, and storage into a single Apple-provided package. Apple Business Essentials, the service, which Apple announced back in November 2021, bundles a number of business-focused services together into a single flexible subscription for small business and enterprise users. And like most things with Apple, it's a complete package. You don't need a case on your devices, but Apple makes their own cases, and you can also do aftermarket stuff. But Apple is a vertical. It is a single source provider of everything that a person might need for its intended initial purchase. It's hard to explain that to people when things like antitrust and monopolistic practices pop up. I don't think that Apple is doing these things. They happen to provide a vehicle for which people can submit apps onto their platform. But Apple is the sole manufacturer of products for everything that is Apple. And they just happen to allow additional devices to attach to their product. And again, Apple is vertical. You would literally not need anything else from anybody else if you were to buy all of your stuff from Apple and use the apps that Apple provides. Now, it's much more limited in terms of additional functionality, but Apple's solution is entirely encapsulated within Apple. And that's where I have a problem with other companies saying, well, Apple doesn't allow this or Apple doesn't allow that. Well, no, Apple's Service is vertical and built on the hardware that it too solely manufactures and sells. I mean, they allow resellers, yes, but you don't need to go to anyone else to buy any Apple product. You can buy it directly from them. It's fascinating when you think about it. But anyway, back off my little soapbox. AppleInsider.com article, Apple Business Essentials now available to all users in the US. It's written by Mike Peterson. Let me scroll down a little bit and see if there's something more involved that I can add to this short discussion about them. So MDM, if you've never heard about it, is mobile device management. It's usually used in bigger businesses, but some smaller businesses with multiple devices that are given out to their employees might want MDM so that you can do device management and security. Let's see what else. Yeah, you can go over and read this as well, but because I've said pretty much the highlight of it. Let's see. Apple's offering 3 separate customizable business essentials plans. That includes a $2.99 per month single device plan, a multi-device plan that costs $6.99 per user monthly. Multi-device? Okay. And a multi-device plan with more storage for $12.99 per user. Why would a multi-device plan that costs $6.99 per month? I'm going to have to look into this. Because if I pay $2.99, it's tracking the single device. But then it says a multi-device plan that costs $6.99 per user. So maybe the user has multiple devices in their name and it only costs $6.99. All right. So I'll noodle around with that. I haven't bothered with this because the stuff that I have seen is not from Apple, but there are many other solutions out there for MDM, backups and stuff like that as well. But consolidating it all into one service makes it a zero brain effort for anything Apple. And so I find value in this. So I'll have to take a look and see if it's something that I can talk to other people about. So the next article is my last one for the night in the continuity report. And this is kind of a bummer. I found out about it earlier today. And so E3, the 2022 E3 Game Expo has been canceled. And the idea is that they will regroup in 2023 and come out of this pandemic impacted expo existence stronger, with more people, kind of the seesaw effect. Everything became constrained and almost untenable for something that really requires community and hands-on experiences, arguably. But I can see why they would do this. So it says E3, which has historically given the game industry's biggest conference, is not happening at all this year, not even online. They're not doing a virtual one, although there was discussion apparently about spinning something virtual up. It's just been canceled altogether for 2022. The trade group that announces E3 has not officially announced the 2022 event's cancellation, but apparently there's they've already notified people. So unless this is a phishing thing just to ruin ESA, this is pretty much done. So this is a Variety.com article written by Todd Spangler. So let's see. Event confirmed the 2022 event's cancellation and said that it was focusing on making sure the revitalized showcase sets a new standard for hybrid industry events and fan management. So they'll return in 2023, and we'll see how that goes. And that's it for the day. But again, back at the beginning of ohmTown.com, all you have to do, click on that logo. It will refresh with a whole bunch. It's processing a bunch of data as we speak. So if you see something like a slowdown on the site, it's because it's actively adding content. And I'm working on its optimization and whatnot, but it's a new to the public site. So consider it a living beta test that will evolve. That said, this has been ohmTown Daily News Show. It goes from 6 to 7 o'clock. I sometimes let it run longer, but not tonight. I want to thank you, and I will see you tomorrow.